Today's topic is a good spin-off from my last episode on pro-life choice, because today I'm going to be talking about beliefs. Now, Abraham defines a belief as a thought you continue to think. And I had never heard it described that way before, but as soon as I heard that, it made perfect sense to me. Yes, you continue to think a specific thought, it gains momentum with the more focus that you put on it, and eventually it becomes a core belief. Some beliefs change over time, right? If you think about when you were a kid and you had lots of different beliefs that were associated with things your parents told you, and then as you grew up, you started challenging those beliefs because of your own experience in the world, and then your beliefs shifted, right? So that's kind of a natural progression of beliefs changing over time. But it is possible to actually change your beliefs, given your attention and your focus, and knowing a little bit of information on how to connect with your inner being and get an idea of how source energy thinks and feels about things. And there is a way that you can do that every day and start to challenge some of your beliefs to see if they do or they do not align with source energy. I'm Dr. Williams, and this is my podcast. I have 2 graduate degrees in psychology, am a licensed mental health counselor, and an expert in the area of spirituality. I am devoted to living my best life and am sharing it with all of you. I'm bringing my expertise, education, and life experiences to you through this podcast. Everyone deserves to enjoy life, and that is what I'm here to talk about. Depression, anxiety, grief, you name it, we all go through it at one time or another. I believe there's a better way to come at these things than mainstream mental health care offers, and I'm here to offer you my perspective and dig into discovering how you can feel good no matter what life throws at you. It is my intention to contribute goodness to this world, and the content herein is how I do that. But one disclaimer before we dive in. Should you decide to apply the information offered here, be prepared for improvements in your life. You may even live happily ever after, and you'll only have yourself to thank. This is Feel Good Now, the Dr. Williams podcast. A lot of people want to defend their beliefs. But like I said, that's just a thought that you've continued to think. Just because you strongly believe in something does not make it law. It doesn't make it true. It just means it has a lot of momentum. It just means that it's something that you have adopted as part of yourself. But the basis of it is that you just keep thinking it over and over again and exposing yourself to other sources which align with that thought pattern. So I will get into the practice that I'm referring to on connecting with your inner being and how to challenge some of your beliefs to see if they align or not. I'm going to get to that toward the end of this episode because there's some other things that I really want to focus on first. I want to discuss actions based on beliefs. I think a lot of people do use their beliefs as justification for their actions. Now, I would say, well, does it feel good to you or does it feel bad to you? Because that right there tells you whether you are in or out of alignment with your source energy. And if it doesn't feel good, then there's something that needs to be reviewed there, and you need to look into it a little bit more to understand it, and then maybe start to shift things so that you can feel better. Because the name of the game, the most important thing, there is nothing more important in life than feeling good, because that is the whole reason we're here. We are here to create our reality and feel good doing it. Life is a gift. And to receive that gift, you got to kind of give it your all and accept that that is why you're here. So that brings me to realism. You know, when people say, well, I'm a realist. And what that really means is you're stating how things are. A lot of times people justify their realism, which is a lot of times really pessimism, because they're saying, well, this is what I'm seeing a lot of. And I am not going to argue with anybody that is reiterating the way that things are. My question is that serving you? Is that doing for you what you want? Is it getting you what you want? Is focusing on the way things are actually serving you in a good way? Because if it isn't, then it's time to start shifting those thoughts and what you focus on. It makes me want to say, okay, what is the most important thing to you? Is it important to you that you are right? So you are stating that the way that things are currently? Or is it more important to you to be happy? Because a lot of times, those two things are in opposition. There are a lot of negative, bad things in the world, and we learn a lot about them on things like the media. And then people are focused on that, and then they turn around and they think about it and they talk about it, and we get more of it. That is just law of attraction. That is the way it works. You focus on it, you get more of it. So, is that realism serving you to get what you want? Or could you be focusing on things that you do want and change the reality? That is how you become a deliberate creator. Once you understand the way that these things work and you start using that in practice, you create your own reality. Then by all means, be a realist and think about and talk about all the wonderful things that are going on in your life, because that just attracts more of the same. Even if you're only willing to try this for a short amount of time, it's guaranteed to prove to you that it works, because it is a universal law. The thing that can be difficult about it is that a lot of times when people think they are thinking and talking and focusing on what they want, they're actually focused on the lack thereof. Because the way that you get into that place of receiving and actually manifesting the things that you want into your reality, you have to feel good. And most people need the manifested thing before they can feel good. That's backwards. So you got to find those things that make you feel good in the now, right? That's the whole point of this podcast. I really want to drill that in. You got to feel good right now, and then now, and then now, and continue to do that in practice. And then you will start to see all of these things unfolding in your life, and your reality will be that which you created. Recently in the news, there was a story on a school shooting, and I had to work so hard to avoid the topic because it was everywhere. I don't watch the news as it is, but I do scroll through social media, and a lot of people were talking about it. And anytime that I knew that that's what they were talking about, I kept on scrolling. I didn't even allow myself to finish reading the post in its entirety because I didn't want to know what happened. Because so many people are focused on this really negative thing, and they're not feeling good, right? Because it was a bad thing that happened. And that just attracts more of the same stuff. So I am over here doing my part in trying to create a reality in our world that does not include things like school shootings. It was really hard, though, because everybody was talking about it, even people that I'm close with, and having just intimate conversations, it would start to come up. And I did something that I don't normally do. You know, I am a therapist, so I have a tendency to get into a listening mode and be a receiver of information. It's just kind of a part of who I am. And as people would start to talk with me and bring up the topic of the school shooting, I had to stop it in its tracks. And I just said, I don't want to talk about that. And sometimes I would go more into depth as to why. And because it is my understanding of the universal laws of attraction that creates more of the same in our reality. And I don't want to focus on the things that I don't want. But sometimes I would just say, yeah, I don't really want to talk about that subject. And then I would change the subject. And that can be an uncomfortable situation because people feel like you are rejecting them. And I was worried about that because I have that tendency to always try to soothe other people. And setting that boundary was a big deal for me. But really, I felt like people reacted to it fairly well, better than I thought they would. So I did want to share that because that's important. If you start to have some negative emotion in the moment and you catch it and you want to get back into your alignment, sometimes you got to just do what's uncomfortable and worry more about how you're feeling because that is important and worry less about how the other person is feeling. So the episode of Infinite Intelligence that I wanted to refer to today is episode 358. It's titled Minimizing the Wobble. I had an idea for this episode this morning. And of course, once again, I went to take my shower and I turned on Abraham. And the episode that I happened to be on was relevant to the topic that I was going to be focusing on. This happens so much, I can't even tell you. And I love it. So the episode was a lot about beliefs and how you can turn your vibration around so that you are focused in the right direction for creating your own reality. The thing Abraham was talking about was focusing on the manifestations that you have already accomplished that make you happy. You know what these things are. Things that you currently have in your life that you had been wanting years ago. So that could be anything. It could be the car you're driving or the house you live in or the family that you have created. It could be a place that you're living. It could be better alignment with your inner being. It could be anything. You know what it is. So focusing on those things just reiterates your power of creation. You made those things happen, and these things happen gradually. So people have a tendency to feel like these things are happening to them and not that they are creating them. But the truth is, you are creating your reality. The good things and the bad things. And it all depends on your focus, your thoughts, and how you're feeling about it. If you're not actually doing this deliberately, then that means you get some good and you get some bad. And that's why it feels like it's just life kind of creating itself, not that it's coming from you. But that's because you don't understand that the way you feel and the thoughts you think are powerful. And when they are in alignment with each other, your life reality is being created before your eyes. But when you have those negative emotions and you have negative thoughts, those things are counterproductive. And that creates resistance on your path to getting what you want. So I want to talk a little bit about religious beliefs in this conversation. There are some people in my life who are very devoted to their religious beliefs. And I also used to be very devoted to my religious beliefs. A lot of people focus on the Bible specifically, and they really use the Bible to justify their beliefs. I have read the Bible. It took me about 4 years to complete it. I read it all the way through from Genesis to Revelation, and I also hand wrote the New Testament. So I read through it once, and then I also wrote it down on paper. So essentially, I've read the New Testament twice. While I was reading the Bible, I believed myself to be a Christian. That was the influence in my life. I was devoting a lot of attention and focus to it. Therefore, I created beliefs that were associated with it. Shortly after I finished reading the Bible, I felt something that I now know was coming from my inner being, leading me down another path. And I ended up at the library wanting another spiritual book because I wanted to continue learning about spirituality. And I ended up with Conversations with God, author Neale Donald Walsch. And that book, that series of books, changed my entire view on religion and spirituality and challenged a lot of my beliefs. But what I found was, in challenging those beliefs, I found more alignment with my inner being and a lot of things that I had been feeling from years and years and years and years ago, before I even considered reading the Bible, that just felt better to me. And I knew that that was truth. I was recognizing my own truth. And I know that that's because I was aligning with my inner being. I know that now. But a lot of people who are devout Christians and follow the Bible have a tendency to put a lot of weight on some information that's in there as far as judging others and what they think is moral or immoral. So for instance, abortion, homosexuality, accepting a savior, those are all really strong core Christian beliefs. And there's a lot of action associated with those core beliefs. A lot of people feel like they have to go to church on Sunday if they want to stay in God's good grace, or they have to pray, or they have to provide charity. Whatever it might be, there's, different religious followings, and they have different sets of beliefs. And a lot of religious leaders emphasize the importance of people coming to them for answers, when really everybody has the ability to know the answers to every single question they could possibly have just by looking inward, because that is where source energy resides, in you. You have the answers. You just have to know how to connect so that you can ask the questions, receive the emotion, analyze it, and know what's going on in your relationship with source energy, in your relationship with God. I have a lot more that I want to say on this topic, but first, I want to take a minute to tell you guys about Ishel at Soul Purpose Alignment. That's SOUL Purpose Alignment. Now, it's important that you know I'm not receiving any funds for this advertisement. I'm supporting Ishel's work because it had a profound impact on my life. With one Soul Purpose Alignment session, I was able to resolve a lifetime and then some of issues that I've been dragging around with me. Ishel is a receiver of energy, and she connected directly with my inner being and then communicated to me my path of healing. She ended the session by clearing my vibrational baggage, and I kid you not, I felt different immediately. If you want to know more about my Soul Purpose Alignment session, keep an eye out for my episode titled Path of Least Resistance. I would encourage you to contact Ishel and have a Soul Purpose Alignment session of your own. I truly believe that every single person could benefit from this experience. She's available for in-person sessions here in Sequim, Washington, or she can do distance sessions through phone or Skype. So literally anybody can schedule a session with her. If there is anything in your life that you have a desire to improve on, whether it be relationships, mental health, parenting, life aspirations, spiritual growth, Ishel is available to offer you insights from the one entity who knows and loves you most, you. Your inner being has a powerful and beneficial message to support you in enjoying the life you're living. Give Ishel a call at 253-970-6410, or you can go to www.ishel.com. Mention the Dr. Williams podcast and get $20 off your scheduled session. Okay, back to the episode. I'm going to speak to those of you who have a strong Christian belief system. When you think of God, what do you think of? Do you think that God is love? Do you think that God is wrath? Because both of those things are very contradicting, and both of them reside in the Bible. Your religious leaders, are they putting conditions on you? Would you feel accepted by those in your church congregation or by your religious leaders if you were behaving in a way that opposed what they teach? Because if they would not accept you and love you despite your obedience, that is a conditional love. A lot of churches like to say that they are telling you the good news. And the good news is that Jesus died for your sins. And if you accept Jesus in your heart, you are forgiven and are going to heaven. Well, I have the real good news. The real good news is you don't have to do anything. You know why? Because God is unconditional love. It is the purest form of love that exists. All the things that you think you have to be doing or thinking or feeling or believing in order to gain approval from God, no. God accepts you and loves you no matter what. You have eternal life no matter what. And I understand that that can be really difficult to hear, especially if you have some really strong beliefs about this topic. But stay with me because I'm going to offer you some suggestions on how you can look within yourself and really find out if that is what you believe. Is that really what is serving you the best in your life? Before I move on, when talking about God's love, there's one more thing that I want to say to you guys. When you think about loving someone in your life, is there anybody in your life that you love unconditionally? Truly, unconditionally. They couldn't do anything to make you not love them. Now, if you're saying yes, does that align or oppose with your belief of God loving you? Because if it opposes it, and you think there are conditions in order for God to love you and accept you, then you are literally saying that you know how to love better than God does. I love my children unconditionally. There's nothing they could possibly do to make me not love them. I get that from my source energy. That teaches me how God feels about me. That is how I feel the closest to my inner being and my true self, is when I am loving my children. And I understand that that is really the purest form of emotion, is unconditional love. And that really, truly is the good news, you guys, because we all have that. God has unconditional love for us. So I want to talk about your actions as they relate to your beliefs. A lot of people feel a lot of pressure to behave or act in a certain way so that they can remain in good graces with God or with source energy. And according to Abraham, and Abraham talks about that in this episode, 358, that your action, so let's just give you an example of an action, like going to church on Sunday. Let's just say you feel a lot of pressure to make sure you go to church every Sunday. so that you can feel like you've done something to align with God. That action is minuscule to the power of alignment with your inner being. You can connect with God at any time by looking inward. Going to church is not going to make or break that relationship. So a lot of people feel like they can't do other things in life, right? Because they feel this pressure to make sure they go to church every Sunday. So if they get invited to something, or they wanted to go on a trip, or maybe they just didn't feel like getting out of bed Sunday morning, but the pressure is so great that they force themselves to say no to those other experiences so that they can go to church. We have to look at that, because our lives are a true gift from source energy. God has granted us this experience. We are here to live and have these experiences and feel happy and feel good now in the moment, doing those things that make us feel good. But that pressure to go to church, what is the underlying cause of that? Is that coming from a place of fear or happiness? Maybe you really, really, really love going to church and it makes you so happy that there's nothing else you could possibly want to do but go to church on Sunday. And if that's the case, that's great. And you are in alignment with your inner being, because what feels good is always the right thing to do. But are you telling me that there's no exceptions to that? That there isn't some other experience that also might feel good, that you could maybe not go to church that Sunday and have a different experience? Anything that you are doing out of fear is not aligned with God, because it doesn't feel good. It's obligation. It's pressure. It's doing something to receive a relieving feeling from that fear, because there's a core belief there that is not serving you. And maybe that core belief is something like, I have to go to church so I can stay in good graces with God. And when you don't go, you have a terrible feeling and you're fearful, and now you feel like you have to do something to get back in good graces. But if you do go to church, now I feel good. Okay, I've done that. Now I can move on with my life. If that's the case, maybe it's time to look at the belief. No matter what you're doing, you want to be aligning with well-being. That tells you you're on the right track. You do that by thinking thoughts that feel good. So, if you believe that you have to work hard because you're compensating for your inferiority or your past wrong deeds, or because you need to justify your existence, those kind of things are contrary to your inner being's knowledge of your worthiness. Feeling like you have to work hard. You should not have to work hard. This should be easy. This should feel good. Everything should feel good. That's the point of life, finding that spot and staying there. When you are working so hard to justify your worthiness in your own mind because of your beliefs, that is exhausting. So what you do is you focus on your blessings, you follow your bliss, and you look for reasons to feel good. You cut back on your knee-jerk responses. Because if you are in the receiving mode, you're in alignment, that's when you're receiving things like clarity and vitality and stamina and really good ideas. That's how you know you're on track. All of this stuff is talked about in this episode on infinite intelligence. I really hope that you guys will go there and listen to the episode, because I really can't say it better than Abraham does. This is just my own interpretation of the information that I'm passing on to you. But getting it directly from that source is going to be the best thing that you can do. We as humans have a tendency to be really reactive. But reacting to things that we don't want just puts more emphasis on that which we don't want. because then we are vibrating along the lines of contrast instead of being in vibrational alignment with that which we do want. That's how law of attraction works. When you're in harmony, you are feeling good and you are having thoughts that connect with that feeling good. That's the sweet spot. But you don't have that occur when you are reacting to something. And the way that you know that is you look to your emotions. That will guide your thoughts. So be nicer to yourself. Don't work so hard. Think nice things about yourself and others, and do more things that feel good. Efforting, so working hard, trying, that will not get you there. You have to let go of resistance. That is the only way to do it. It is our natural tendency to be in alignment. We are source energy at the core of our being. But we have a tendency to put resistance in our way, and we have to move that resistance out of the way so that we can realign. A lot of times, the resistance are unhelpful beliefs that are not serving you. So if you are ready to try this, if you want to really be a creator of your reality, the way you do that is with the thoughts that you think. You can just go ahead and reiterate your beliefs till you're blue in the face. But my question to you will always be, how does that belief serve you? And does it feel good to think it? Because that tells you if you are on track or off track. Another thing I want you to think about, and when Abraham said this, it had a big impact on me. I really felt like this was big information. Are the thoughts that you think thoughts you're thinking because you are the creator of your own experience? Or are the thoughts you think in reaction to someone else's experience that you are observing and you're having a knee-jerk reaction to? That is huge. That's huge. We know your thoughts create your reality. Are you being deliberate about your thoughts? Or are you having a knee-jerk reaction to somebody else and their behavior or their life, and you're observing it and you're having a reaction to it? This has a huge basis in religious beliefs that are opposing to other people's lifestyles. Think about it. If you're reacting to them, you are not being a deliberate creator. When you are reacting, you have zero control. You have to make a decision to be the creator of your own reality in order for you to make it happen. So, I mentioned that there was something that you could do. And I recommend giving this a really valiant effort. Give it some time. Put this into practice and just see how it turns out. Even if you are resistant to me and what I'm saying right now, try it anyway. See if it works for you. And even though it could be scary to challenge your beliefs, that's got a basis in fear, doesn't it? That means you're not aligned with your God source energy. So resist the fear and give it a try. So here's the thing. Every time you sleep, momentum stops. All the thoughts you've been thinking all day long, whether it's in a positive direction or a negative direction, it all stops and you sleep, despite your inner being who never sleeps and is always working towards getting you what you want. So your conscious awareness stops as your momentum stops. So that means that when you wake up, you have the best opportunity for alignment with your inner being and your inner being's knowledge. And your beliefs are going to start to challenge that. But if you're aware of it, this is going to give you a lot of information. You'll know that this is happening when you have some negative emotion. So this is the time to adjust your thought and see if you can feel better. So let's just use an example. Let's pick a hot button topic. Let's just use abortion since I just did an episode on that. So first thing in the morning, you wake up, you're in alignment because all momentum is stopped. Now start to think about abortion, or whatever topic it is you choose. You fill in the blank because you know what has meaning to you and your beliefs. How do you feel about thinking about that? If you feel good about your thoughts associated with it, then you know you're in alignment with your inner being. If you have negative emotions, then you know that your belief is not lining up with the knowledge of your inner being. That's when you can start challenging that belief. Because don't you want to be in alignment with God? This is how you know God. This is how you do it. Everybody says that they want to know God. Well, this is how you do it. You have the negative emotion. Whatever that thought was, you know that one's off track. Try a different thought. Try a different thought until you can find one that feels good. That is the communication with your source energy. Your source energy is telling you, yes, you've got it. Feel good, feel good, feel good. I'm sending all the good feelings because I want you to know that that is my knowledge. That is how God feels and thinks about that topic. This is how you bridge your beliefs with your inner being and find better alignment. Finding better alignment means that you can start feeling better, feeling good all the time. And when you do that, you start manifesting your reality in whatever way you know you want. So I recommend doing this every morning for a good period of time. I don't know, give it a couple weeks. This is true prayer. You are connecting directly with God and receiving answers to whatever life questions you are asking. Your emotions are the answer. You don't have to look to anybody else. Nobody else knows the answer for you. Only you do. Be empowered. Don't even take my word for it or how I feel about anything. Look to you. I am trying to empower you to know that you have all the answers. You have all the guidance you need within yourself. One more thing I want to say before I close here is this is going to be difficult for a lot of people. And though the benefits are great, and I'm really hoping that you'll follow through and give this a try, one thing that you need to be aware of is you may feel the need to argue for your limitations. That would be like, well, I woke up this morning and I tried it and it didn't work for me, so I'm not doing it anymore. Well, that was just a limitation that you argued for. When you do that, now you're gaining more negative momentum. Care about the way you feel. Choose better feeling thoughts. That is the best way I can say it to you, in the simplest way I can say it to you. Doing that will transform your reality into a life that you will enjoy. That concludes this episode, but if you don't want to wait for the next episode to come out, I have more for you at drwilliamspodcast.com. You can learn more about me and my journey to podcasting, find all the ways to connect with me on social media, and there's a button to subscribe so you're the first to know what's new and upcoming. You also can shoot me an email at hello@drwilliamspodcast.com. You are so special to me, and your support does not go unnoticed. I want to support you too. This podcast is my outlet for growth because when you teach something, you hold yourself accountable and apply the information in life. But the inspiration for these episodes comes in a variety of ways, and one of those is through you. I want you to feel like this is your show too. So send me a message and let me know which episode is your favorite and why. And tell me if there's a topic you'd want to hear me talk about. Your feedback applies to so many people, and your suggestion could change someone's life for the better. The best way to do this is by subscribing to the show and leaving a review through your favorite podcast platform. I really listen to you guys, and this dialogue feeds my soul. You say that you're a fan of me, but truth be told, I am a fan of yours. Everything is working out for each of us, and we're all in this together.